Trails, a long-running JRPG series that over the course of its many games fleshes out different pockets of its world, in a series that can be so daunting to start for so many because of how interconnected it all is. The creators Nihon Falcom decided to go back to basics and remake the game that started it all. Bringing back the bold and memorable protagonists of Estelle and Joshua, this game sets out to not only shake up the gameplay, but to give a 21-year-old game a beautiful new coat of paint. Hello everyone, I am Jmulls, and this is the demo for Trails in the Sky First Chapter. I want to begin by saying just how much I love this demo. It's a beautiful game, it has great combat, and I really like the voice acting. It took a little bit, but I have come around to it and I think it's charming. I think the game overall does a great job of bringing this game back from 2004 and making it feel like a modern game, in largely all the right ways. However, there is one big glaring flaw that is noticeable immediately, and I think it's only right to talk about it first, because it's the first thing that I noticed. I haven't even beaten the original Trails in the Sky FC, but it was so noticeable to me that the writing and the translation of the original game was one of its strongest elements. It gave so much life and personality to the characters, but also especially the MC Estelle. And two of the most memorable lines of dialogue I've ever seen in a game come from Estelle in those opening moments of Trails in the Sky. Both of those lines are completely butchered here in the retranslation, and I don't know why they did it. The only thing that could possibly make sense is if the original game wasn't accurate to the original script that was probably in Japanese, and this version wanted to have a more accurate translation. My only thing is, it doesn't hit the same as the original all those years ago. It's like you don't have the lines, "Why is my present a boy? Do I hear yelling?" It's like you just don't get that. And those are really, really memorable moments in the beginning of the game because they lay the groundwork, the type of energy she provides and brings to the table. And it also just acts as a good litmus test for whether or not you're going to find the humor in this game enjoyable. I do. And when I started this demo and those lines were completely butchered, I was genuinely off-put by this game. I thought, oh god, here we go again. They replace "Why is my present a boy?" with "Who is this boy?" which just doesn't have the same charm or character. It's like, even if it wasn't as accurate to the original translation, if this is more accurate, I think it's worse. And they replace the iconic "Do I hear yelling?" with "Are you sure about that?" as if she's doing a John Cena impression. Look, God bless the animators here, because they're like trying to pull their weight and bring the energy of the original to life with these actual animated cutscenes, and they do a great job, mostly. Look, I think it's a big deal because I think a large part of why I was enjoying and still want to play and continue the original game was because of the writing, because of the characterization, because how memorable each and every single character, or at least most of them, you run into are. And when you change the writing like that, it can undermine the humor and undermine those lines of dialogue that can be so fundamental to those characters. Especially when you replace it with dialogue that's just less fun. At least that's what I think. It's also another issue where I'm pretty sure they did not sync it up at all to the English, because there are moments when characters will do animations and it's almost completely offbeat, almost certainly because the timing is supposed to sync up with the Japanese instead of the English, and you'll get characters to change their entire animations at the very last second before the next line of dialogue goes, so you barely actually get to see it. It doesn't come off as an artistic choice, it comes off as, oh, this was timed for the Japanese, and it does not come across when you have English, which doesn't necessarily line up one-for-one sentence length-wise with Japanese. It's like not just really bad lip sync, it's also the animations just don't line up a lot. But here's the weird part. The moment the intro movie played, the moment that happened, didn't notice it from then on out. For the rest of the demo that I've played, I didn't notice any big differences in translation. Granted, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to Trails. The animations felt better, the timing felt better, it just all felt way better the moment we got past that intro. It's just really jarring, because when you experience an introduction, and when you have those expectations from the original, it feels like a canary in the coal mine, and it's almost as if the canary dies and then you walk into the coal mine and then you're completely fine. You're just wondering what happened from here to there. Again, the animators try their best, and I think when you actually do get to see the animations, they try to give the energy from the original. It's time to shine here, and I think they do a good job of that. Just, once again, timing is weird. But let's move on to what I like about this demo, which is going to be the rest of the video, because I enjoy pretty much everything else. Let's quickly go over the visuals, because my god, this game is pretty. It doesn't have the best texture quality in the known universe or anything, right? And I'm fairly confident you could get this game to run on a sweet potato, but I like the art style, I like the use of color, I like the character designs. It's colorful, it's big, the game just oozes charm and character, and it's just a nice time to be in this world. I think they do a really good job of translating the original tone and feel of Trails in the Sky, at least with the initial section, into this demo. And I think the voiceovers sound a little bit weird at first, but like when you let them settle in and you get a little bit into the demo, it just kind of all clicked for me, and I really started to appreciate everything this game had to offer artistically. The music is extremely good. The game is absolutely beautiful, but not in a way that's going to throttle your GPU or anything like that. Though I personally get very high GPU utilization when I'm maxing everything out and going to 144 FPS, but unless you're streaming or recording, you're not going to run into any issues with that. The game performs extremely well, at least in my experience. And even if you knock the graphics down to low, it's barely noticeable. It's like, I think to an untrained eye, you would not be able to spot the difference between low and high. The game is just pretty across the board because it relies on artistic style instead of necessarily graphical fidelity. And I think it does a really good job of doing that. The characters look exactly how they were back in the original. They did an excellent job of bringing them to life in this new overall art style, as opposed to the 2004 game. And I can imagine this is how a lot of people viewed the game all those years ago. I think that does amount to something. Okay, so let's talk about the gameplay, because oh my god, it's so fun. Now, I can't speak for other Trails games, because my only experience is with the original Trails in the Sky. However, I think I prefer the combat system here as opposed to the original. Allow me to explain why. It's a blend between real-time combat and turn-based gameplay. And generally the idea is that you use the real-time combat to weaken enemies or to stun enemies, and then transition into the turn-based combat to capitalize off what you did in the real-time combat to get some extra damage in, or to even attack first. And if the enemy is weak enough, you can just kill them in the real-time combat and not even have to waste your time in the turn-based combat. And then when you get into the turn-based combat, it's very similar to the original combat from Trails in the Sky, where you're moving around the arena, utilizing your arts and your crafts, as well as regular attacks that can vary based on the character you're controlling. The turn order thing returned from the original, but also now, if you are able to like stun by essentially filling up a stagger bar, you can do a follow-up attack with the other characters, or even do a chain attack, depending upon how much gauge you've built up. I think it's very fair to say that the combat here is arguably easier than the original, though I'm a little bit biased in that regard because I'm playing the original on hard mode and I played the demo on normal mode. But you are able to pump out so much damage in the real-time combat, and with the chain system, that I do think it's probably fair to say that this version's a little bit easier, at least. I don't mind it because I also think it's more fun. I hear other and more modern Trails games have something similar going on, but as someone who is largely an outsider to Trails, I think it's rather fun and enjoyable. And it's a combat system that I find really addictive. It makes me come right on back for more, and I don't mind grinding enemies in this version of the game because it's so lightning quick, and just pressing my buttons feels so enjoyable to me. Bashing enemies over their head with a stealth stick thing, or slicing and dicing with Joshua's knives, it's just fun. And then when you manage to stun a group of enemies and you go into the turn-based combat, and you hit a giant chain attack and they all just die before you and you get all the XP and the goodies and the sepith, it just feels good and rewarding and satisfying. And I think it goes to show that not everything needs to be some grueling, difficult slog, and just make it flashy and fun, and that's what this game does so well, because there is still strategy there. You want to group up enemies. You still want to ideally hit weaknesses, manage buffs and heals and your resources. From what I noticed, a lot of those mechanics from the original game are brought forward here in the demo. It's just there's a bunch of other mechanics working alongside them, and I found it fun to manage all those different elements and spin all those different plates. And I can also imagine this game gets way harder harder if you up the difficulty, because there are a couple of fights there where the difficulty definitely spiked. It is also very easy to get overwhelmed, especially early on against some of those fights. For instance, I don't know what they fed that rabbit from the farm in the prologue, if you know, you know, but it has a mechanic where it just summons a swarm of other rabbits at you, like out of nowhere. And if you're not ready for it, it can really put you on the back foot. And when I managed to overcome that, it felt really good. The game is just a pleasant experience overall from start, well, not really the start, a little bit past the start, all the way to where I'm at right now. It's like, when we got past the intro, I started to really like the writing, the dialogue, in this version at least, because it did feel really in line with the original. I didn't necessarily mind the side quest that much either, because killing a bunch of those basic mobs isn't such a slog because you can just blow them up in the real-time combat. It's fun. It's a game where I want to come back and play it more and more. I didn't want to put it down. And if the purpose of a demo is to sell you on a game, then I think this demo does a really good job of it. Yeah, Trails in the Sky, if you know, you know, is a very slow game plot-wise. It's a lot of character moments and slow world building. I don't necessarily mind stuff like that, but if you're someone who wants it just to be rapid and fast-paced and plot point to plot point to plot point, you're not gonna find that here. But if you don't mind a slower pace, a story that is more focused on the characters and developing and fleshing out those characters over the course of the story, having it be a slow burn, then I think you will enjoy Trails in the Sky. This demo makes me want to play more of it, and I also want to go back to the original and beat that, even if it's very similar here, because it's like the layouts of all the zones and the main town borderline identical to the original. In a lot of ways, they did a great job of preserving that original experience and really just messing with the visuals and the combat loop. It's like I got to Roland and I already knew where to go because it was the exact same town from the original. If you haven't played Trails in the Sky, I would recommend doing so. If you want a game in a series that is focused on world building and is not afraid to take things slow and to develop these characters and to take their time with it. And if the question is, should I play the original or should I play the remake? Well, that kind of depends upon you. So far in the demo, it's been very much a similar experience to the original, even down to the side quests that you get. For me, I can already tell Trails is going to be one of those series that when I fully jump down the rabbit hole, there's gonna be no way out for me. I already can feel that. So in all likelihood, I'm going to play both the original to its completion and probably also this remake to completion before diving into the other games in the series. If you've never played Trails, then I can't imagine starting with this would be a bad decision. I normally advocate for going in release order for various things. And as someone who is completely new to Trails, I think Trails in the Sky does a good job of introducing me to the world and its various concepts. Maybe not always in the most engaging ways possible, but it's funny, filled with charm, and the combat is really fun. So here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with your experience in Trails. Have you played a bunch of the other games? Which one was your favorite? Have you never played a Trails game in your life? Let me know if Trails in the Sky is something that looks up your alley and if you're interested in it or not. I would love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and to hear your perspectives. And if you want me to play more Trails games and to cover them on this channel, you should leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, Jmulls. I have a Discord in the description down below. And if you want to hear my thoughts on another old JRPG that I've recently beaten, Xenosaga Episode 2, you should check out this video right here because that game is absolutely fascinating. Some really high highs and some really low lows. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again!